Hi, this is Andrew Moore-Crispin for Gadget TV on Butterscotch.com, and today we're taking a look at the NOOK Color e-reader. You can get this guy for $249 from BarnesandNoble.com or from any of the larger Barnes & Noble stores. Now what it is, it's a dedicated e-reader, but it is a little bit more than just a dedicated e-reader. We'll get to that in a moment. One thing I really like about this device is the fact that it's a capacitive touchscreen. Also, I'm not sure if they have an open mentality towards actually, bending the device to your will. But as we mentioned in a previous episode, it was very, very easy to actually get Honeycomb running, Android 3.0 Honeycomb running on the NOOK Color, while still leaving the NOOK Color software intact. And the NOOK Color software is actually quite useful, really good for reading books, magazines, and also a few little applications, which we'll get to in a moment. Now you can see here it's a heavily skinned version of Android, really designed for a more, let's say a less savvy user. Basically everything has been very simplified. We have, right off the bat, we have access to 3 home screens. We can put our books on these home screens. We see what we've been reading most recently in the top here. We can tap that to actually go and continue reading that book. We can slide through our books on the bottom here, tap any one of these books to actually go into the e-reader experience. Let's tap read so we can get a bit of an idea of how the e-reader software works. Now this is a book that has been downloaded from the Barnes & Noble bookstore on the device itself, which we'll also show you in a moment. So we're able to basically page over like this. Now I've mentioned this is an LCD screen, so it's not going to be quite as easy to read as an e-ink screen. So that's really the downside of using LCD. The upside is that we get full color, so we can read magazines, color newspapers, and see color images in books where available. So that's, whether that's a worthwhile trade-off for you is really a personal decision. As I mentioned, e-ink is much more comfortable to read, but LCD does open up some other possibilities. Obviously, faster refresh rate, the ability to view items in color, and all that kind of stuff. So the one button on the face of the device is the NOOK button here. We can tap that at any time to go home. And now we'll see Keep Reading has changed to the Star Wars book that we were sort of reading there. So we can tap that to continue reading. We can also tap on this software button here to get access to a few more items related to NOOK. So we can go into our library here. And then we can choose to create our own shelves. We can, but just by default, it's broken down by books, magazines, newspapers. We can also go into My Shelves, and we can create our own shelves. We could create shelves for favorite books. We could create shelves for fiction or nonfiction, or House and Home, or whatever you may have. Or we could get really nerdy and maybe even start creating Dewey Decimal System shelves if we have a ton of books. Under My Files, we can get access to any files that we've dumped onto the device. When we plug in the micro B USB cable that comes with the device into a computer, this turns up as a regular drive that we can just drag and drop files onto, including eBooks, which we'll get to in a moment. Now, Lend Me is an interesting feature of the NOOK Color. We can actually lend books to friends, and friends can offer their book, so we can basically take them out for a week or two. What that really means is while I'm reading the book, if you have let me read or borrow your version of a book, you won't be able to read it while I'm borrowing it. As soon as I return it, it's straight back on your device. So basically a way around some of the DRM. Not even a way around, but really a concession made for DRM in order to make it so the publishers will want to get involved. Hit the home button to go home here. Let's have a quick look in the NOOK shop. Now we're in the Nook Store, and we can actually start looking through some of the books that are available. So we can browse through the different home screens. Sometimes we'll see coupons coming up that we can use in store. So this we could actually scan in the store and get a free mint mousse parfait. Who doesn't want one of those? And close that down. So it's a not a terribly intrusive way to advertise to you. I kind of like that. So anytime we can tap on an item and actually get a bit more insight into what it is, we can choose to buy a book or tap for a free sample. We can add it to our wish list. We can also read some of the overview here, which will basically be the author's overview or the publisher's overview. We can see some customer reviews, people who've actually read this book. Editorial reviews were available. They rarely seem to be. And also more books like this. We can tap out to close here. Now we can also browse by several different categories, the top 100 New York Times bestsellers and all these kinds of things. We can also search at any time for a book by just tapping in this search field here. So I'll bring that up just so you can see what the keyboard looks like. So if we were to search for, let's see if there's anything that relates to butterscotch in the bookstore. Apparently not. Helps if you spell it right. Anyway, so here we can also browse books, magazines, newspapers. This is kind of an interesting one. I mentioned the LCD screen not being the ultimate, oops, I'm going to go back here, not being the ultimate way to read a standard book. However, we can, it does open up the possibility of reading magazines. So if we were to go in here and look at political magazines, we can buy an issue, and the issue price will be where available, so current issue $5.49. We can also subscribe to a magazine, and then it'll be automatically delivered to our Nook anytime we're in range of a Wi-Fi hotspot that is either open or known to us. Go back home here, and we're going to open up some of the, this is actually a feature I quite like, is the extras. Now, it doesn't do a great deal for you, but we do have, because it is a full color, basically Android tablet, we can actually open up some of the different applications that are available here. So these are all stock applications. I haven't found any way to actually add applications. I'm sure that's something that Barnes & Noble will be actively working on. I'm sure that at some point with a future update, we'll be seeing an actual Nook app store specifically designed for NOOK Color. But we can just do things like play a quick crossword puzzle, play a game of chess. We can keep our contacts in here. If we've loaded music via the micro B USB cable connected to a computer, we could listen to that here. So just have a quick look at the crossword app, just so you get an idea of what it is we're looking at here. So that is a nice little feature, just being able to kind of extend the value of the device. If you're not really looking to read, you can still do a couple of fun things. Maybe if you're stuck on a plane for a couple of hours. It does have a browser, not by any means a full browser, but still will let you do more or less what you need it to do. If you can access Gmail, it will be very much a mobile interface on Gmail. None of the polish that you'd see on a typical mobile browser. No WebKit in here. Really is, like I said, a pretty basic browser. No support for Flash or other plugins. So YouTube, butterscotch.com videos, all that kind of stuff. Anything that uses Flash or HTML5 is pretty much out of reach to you when you're actually on the NOOK Color browser. But all in all, a nice touch, being able to just kind of pull up a quick browser, answer a quick question that you may have. Now, one final note is about accessing public domain and other free eBooks. So here, if we go into our shelves, now eBooks are, anything we've downloaded from the Nook Store will appear in here. If we want to access any books that we've actually put onto the device when it's in storage mode, we do have to go into our library. If we go into our books library here, so we can see a few books that we've downloaded, a couple of them public domain, a couple of them books we own a hard copy to. So if we were to go into, for example, the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Now, this is very much public domain. You'll see here, obviously doesn't have quite the polish that we would be seeing in a typical Barnes & Noble formatted ebook, but still very much functional. So we can slide through like this. Now you'll see a lot of this kind of stuff, right, where the images don't quite line up. This one here, this is pretty much the worst page. I don't even know what's going on here. This looks terrible, but once we actually get into the reading part, this is all present and accounted for. Looks pretty good. We can zoom in and out a little bit like this, slide through the different pages like this. So all in all, a really good way to be able to read any books that you own through the NOOK Color store, but also a great way to be able to read your eBooks, so you don't actually have to sit at a laptop and read Scandal in Bohemia. So that's a quick look at the NOOK Color. For Gadget TV, I'm Andrew Moore-Crispin. For more sweet stuff, visit butterscotch.com.